Hi everyone, it's Reese here, and you join me for the second part in sort of thinking about exam prep. And today, what I want to talk about is sort of tips specifically for revising content. So you can prepare effectively, make sure you know what materials you need, what's available, and sort of how you can properly prioritise your time and your efforts to set yourself up well for exams. So this is kind of what I'm calling the basic prep, sort of the stuff you were thinking about earlier. Um, I think planning revision is a key thing, so sort of figuring out what you're going to do and when. And it's worth stating that revision isn't something that necessarily happens in a certain period before an exam. Um, I think sort of essentially to start thinking about stuff early. You know, if you're someone who condenses notes or whatever, do that early. Sort of, and you can be revising and figuring out sort of the logic of revision even while you're learning content. But yes, so sort of basic strategies for revision techniques. Go over your notes. What notes have you taken? What notes did you take in your seminars, in your lectures, based on any extra material? And what content do you have there, and how is it relevant to whatever the task will be? If you have lectures that you can rewatch them. If there are revision lectures, go to them and take advantage of all that support that's there. Take advantage of sort of the content info you have, and it might be the case, say you have extra handouts or extra pieces of info, so take advantage of those. And then follow up queries as well. Lecturers, seminar tutors, and even other people on your module, these people are all able to help. So it's better to ask 100 questions in advance and feel sort of vaguely secure with that before something, than to rue sort of not having asked the question after you've come out of an assignment. So sort of this basic thing of sort of essentially looking at what you know, sort of condensing what you know, sort of trying to once again re-engage with material, figure out what you don't know, what's not there, and then sort of doing stuff about it. And be that asking lecturers, be that reading some of the readings that are there, be that doing tasks that were in sessions. Essentially just trying to get yourself as up to date and up to speed with whatever material you're revising as you can. Alongside the basic prep is what I've called here sort of exam specific stuff. And what do I mean by this? Well, broadly, it's knowing exactly what you need to do in the exam. So, are you answering a sort of set number of questions? Do you have to write one essay, two essays, whatever? Are you sort of responding to? Are you going to being given a choice of four topics and you have to answer two of them? You know, knowing those things in advance is really useful because then it kind of helps you with the question of how much you need to prepare. So in an ideal world, you would revise everything and you'd know everything and then you'd be set for everything. In practice, that's not often workable, and it may be the case you don't need to, by which I mean, say you've done 10 weeks of content and you will be required to answer two questions in the exam. Theoretically, you'll only need two sort of specific weeks of content, and so it can be a bit of an overwhelm. My own view, what I always did myself, so I was sort of a language student and most of my exams were essay based, and we often had a choice of questions that covered sort of everything in a particular module. And my own approach was to revise at least what I needed to do, so say two questions, and then I would add on an extra two. So I'd do what I needed to do and then have an extra two, so I had two options just in case. And this is for you to figure out, but sort of that was my thing. So sort of I would focus on areas where I thought I could do the best things, and if there were requirements on if I'd done one topic for a piece of coursework, I couldn't do it again in the exam. I knew I could lose it, so I played it strategically and concentrated my time. And the second point of this on sort of exam specific stuff is there sort of extra support you need on technique and preparation. If you're writing essays and there are sort of extra workshops on essay writing, if you're sort of answering practice questions and there are extra workshops on that, can you take advantage of sort of the more generalised technical support? And it may be the case that you don't need to, it may be the case that you're very happy with your ability to write an essay or to answer a practice question, but sort of knowing, if you know exactly what the exam's going to ask of you in terms of sort of the requirements of the task, not the specific content details, but the requirements of the task, you can prepare for those as well if you think that's support you may need. After this comes sort of specifically thinking about what resources are available. So if your exam is linked to a sort of particular module, there might be revision lectures, and there might be sort of specific sessions where you can go and catch up. There might be info sheets available. Do you have those to hand? Specific also on that sort of track, are there past papers? Are there questions that you're able to look at, that you are able to give a go? Maybe even mock answers or sort of answer sheets, so you can sort of test your understanding. Also, that if you're doing sort of any exam in sort of a uni context, it might be the case that there are recommended readings, recommended activities to go alongside a course. In terms of preparation, then having access to those things as well. If you're doing an exam on, let's pick a thing, the work, if it's on English literature, say, and there's sort of a companion guide that's recommended reading, part of your revision process could be engaging with that recommended stuff. So I would say is make sure you're aware of what is there and available to support you, and then take advantage of it as best suits you. If doing past questions helps you out, do past questions. If going to these sessions and taking more notes helps you out, do that. But whatever you do, make sure you know every piece of support that is on offer. And lastly, something that I think is key is that I can't tell you how to revise because there is not one specific way that does it. So sort of being able to figure out what technique works for you in revision. Are you someone who likes to make flashcards and practice with them? Are you someone who likes to do all the practice questions that they can get? Are you someone who likes to sort of keep writing out their notes over and over again? There are sort of 100 ways, and if you Google, you'll find 100 strategies for revision. But finding a technique that works for you, one that lets you hold on to the information you're going to need, is invaluable. And I can't tell you what that is. I can sort of, if it's of use, I can do a video on sort of particular common techniques. For myself, I was someone who sort of condensed my notes a lot, had sort of a selection of notes and then just reread them sort of a couple of times a day, let that sink in. And that was my approach. That will not be an approach that works for everyone by any means, because no approach is. So figuring that out is incredibly useful. And then to reiterate a point that came up in the last video as well, ensuring that essentially you take breaks, you look after your health, you look after your well-being at the same time. No matter how brilliant and how focused you are, it is impossible for someone to sit there all day and just process information, and that's not how we're built. You need breaks to have drinks, to have food, to go for a walk, to do something fun. So make sure you factor those in as well. Figure out how you need to revise and sort of what timescale you have, and make sure you factor in stuff that is not revision in that as well, would be my key piece of advice. So there we go. So this concludes my sort of two-part videos at the moment on exam prep. As I've said throughout this video, if there are extra things that would be useful, please do let me know. I'm very happy to make videos on things that will help out. As I say, sort of although I've separated as well, sort of content prep and sort of logistical prep are inherently linked. I think making sure you have the time to watch videos, making sure you have the time to do readings, making sure you look after yourself, that is always key. Thank you very much for watching this. If you have any other tips that you think would be useful, please do comment below. And any other videos you'd like me to make that would be useful, again, let me know. I want to make the videos that you want to see, so please do keep me informed on that. But thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like, and make sure to subscribe, make sure to ring the bell so you know when there's new videos coming out. And thank you so much for watching. I look forward to seeing you all in the next one.